Have you ever looked at your calendar packed with tasks and thought, I am doing everything I was told to do? So why does my heart still feel empty? Have you ever reached a goal, finally held it in your hands, and then felt a strange quiet disappointment, as if the thing you chased was never the thing you truly needed? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to talk about a kind of unhappiness that hides behind productivity. The kind that wears a clean outfit, answers messages on time, meets deadlines, and still feels restless at night. The kind that keeps saying just a little more, just one more achievement, just one more upgrade, and then I will finally feel satisfied. But the finish line keeps moving, and you keep running, and the happiness you expected never stays long enough to become home. The heart of what we are exploring today is simple but not easy. Working hard is not the problem. Growth is not the problem. Ambition is not the problem. The problem is when your whole life becomes a bargaining table where you keep trying to trade effort for peace. As if peace is a salary you earn. As if contentment is a prize you receive after suffering enough. That bargain looks reasonable, but it is often the hidden reason people work harder and feel less happy. So I want to tell you a story. Because stories carry truth in a way lectures cannot. And as we walk through this story, I want you to notice where you recognize yourself. Not to judge yourself, but to understand yourself. Because understanding is the first step of awakening. And awakening is not some mystical trophy. Awakening is simply seeing what is true, clearly, without running away. His name is Ethan. He is the kind of person you would describe as driven. Not loud driven, not arrogant driven. Quiet driven, the kind who wakes up early, drinks coffee while checking email, and feels slightly guilty if he is not improving something. His friends admire him. His co-workers rely on him. His parents feel proud when they talk about him. And yet, if you watched him closely, you would see something subtle. His smile looks practiced. His laughter arrives a second late. His eyes keep scanning, as if his mind is always somewhere else. Ethan grew up with a simple belief that became the engine of his life. If I work hard enough, I will be safe. Safe from criticism. Safe from being ordinary. Safe from being left behind. Safe from regret. It sounded like ambition, but underneath it was fear. Fear that life would swallow him if he stopped moving. So he moved. He studied hard. He got into a good school. He built a career. He learned how to speak confidently in meetings even when he felt insecure inside. He learned how to look calm while his mind raced. He learned how to be valuable. And like many people who learn to be valuable, he also learned to measure himself, not with one measuring stick, but with a whole room full of them. Salary, titles, likes, feedback, performance reviews, fitness numbers, relationship milestone. He did not call it measuring. He called it being realistic, being responsible, being prepared. But it was measuring, and it never stopped. The first big moment happened when Ethan got the promotion he had been chasing for years. He imagined it like a sunrise. He imagined feeling proud, steady, complete. He imagined calling his parents and hearing genuine warmth in their voices. He imagined walking into the office and feeling like he belonged. The day came. The email arrived. Congratulations. He read it 3 times. His body reacted with a brief wave of relief, like exhaling after holding his breath. Then he went to the bathroom, looked at himself in the mirror, and waited for the joy to arrive. It did not arrive the way he expected. The relief faded. A new tension replaced it. Now he had to prove he deserved it. Now the expectations were higher. Now he had more to lose. The promotion did not make him feel safe. It made him feel watched. That night he went out with co-workers to celebrate. People smiled. People congratulated him. People made jokes about the extra money. He smiled back. He even laughed. But inside he felt oddly distant, like he was watching someone else live his life. When he got home, the apartment was quiet. He sat on the couch, still wearing the clothes from the celebration. And he felt something he had not allowed himself to name for a long time. He felt tired, not just physically, spiritually. The kind of tiredness that comes from always chasing a future self you think you must become before you can relax. He told himself, maybe it is just stress. Maybe I need a vacation. That is what most people tell themselves, because it feels practical. But the deeper truth was not solved by a weekend trip. The deeper truth was that Ethan did not know how to be content. Contentment is not the same as laziness. Contentment is not giving up on growth. Contentment is the ability to be at peace with what is present, while still moving forward with wisdom. It is the ability to enjoy the fruit that is already in your hand, instead of staring at the fruit still hanging on the tree. It is the ability to rest in your own life. Ethan did not have that ability. He had success, he had effort, he had discipline, but he did not have inner rest. And without inner rest, every achievement becomes another rung on a ladder you can never finish climbing. A few weeks later, something else happened. Ethan started feeling irritated all the time. Small delays made him angry. Small mistakes made him harsh. People talking slowly made him impatient. He would wake up and immediately feel behind, even if nothing had happened yet. His mind was like a room full of alarms, always ringing. He began to wonder what was wrong with him. He had everything he was supposed to want. Why did he feel worse? Then, one day, he met his old friend Noah for lunch. Noah was not richer than Ethan. Noah did not have a bigger title. Noah did not have the same visible success. But Noah looked peaceful. Not fake peaceful. Real peaceful. Warm. He listened fully. He smiled easily. He did not seem in a hurry to prove anything. Ethan found himself feeling jealous, and that jealousy confused him. He was the successful one. Why would he envy Noah? They talked about life. Ethan described his workload, his goals, his stress. He expected Noah to admire him. Instead, Noah asked a simple question. When was the last time you felt grateful without immediately wanting more? Ethan laughed, but the laugh felt hollow. He tried to answer. He could list things he appreciated, but he realized something uncomfortable. Even his gratitude sounded like a checklist. Even his appreciation had a performance flavor. He would say, I am grateful. And then his mind would say, yes, but we still need the next thing. Noah did not judge him. Noah said something that landed gently but deeply. You have trained your mind to focus on what is missing. That training made you successful, but it also made you hungry. If you do not retrain it, you will keep winning and feeling empty. Ethan felt his throat tighten, because that sentence named the truth he had been avoiding. His whole life had been built on noticing what was lacking. Not good enough, not fast enough, not rich enough, not attractive enough, not respected enough. That noticing created drive. It also created suffering. In many wisdom traditions, suffering is described as the result of craving and clinging. Craving does not only mean craving pleasure. It also means craving the next state, the next identity, the next guarantee. Clinging means holding tightly to the idea that your happiness depends on conditions being a certain way. When your mind lives in craving and clinging, it cannot rest. Ethan did not want to admit it, but he was clinging. He was clinging to the belief that once he achieved enough, he would finally feel worthy. He was clinging to the belief that safety could be earned through performance. He was clinging to the belief that he had to stay ahead to be okay. Noah told him about a practice he had been learning, a practice of contentment, not as a motivational slogan, but as training. Training the mind to see sufficiency, training the heart to appreciate what is here, training the body to relax into the present. Ethan reacted with skepticism. Contentment sounded passive. It sounded like settling. But Noah explained it in a way that changed the meaning. Contentment is not the end of ambition. It is the end of desperation. When you are desperate, you chase things to fill a hole. When you are content, you pursue growth from fullness. You still build, but you do not bleed while building. That idea stayed with Ethan. Desperation versus fullness. He realized most of his hard work was fueled by desperation. He was not building a life from joy. He was building a defense against fear. And here is where the story deepens. Because the real turning point did not come from an inspiring conversation. It came from a breakdown. That is how it often happens. The mind does not change when it is comfortable. It changes when it is forced to face the cost of its own pattern. One evening, Ethan was working late again. A co-worker made a small comment on a draft he had written. It was not even harsh. It was just feedback. Ethan felt a surge of anger. He snapped back. His tone was sharp. The co-worker went quiet. A few minutes later, Ethan stared at the screen and realized he could not focus. His hands were trembling slightly. His heart was racing. He felt trapped in his own body. He stood up and walked to the office stairwell. He sat on the steps and put his head in his hands. A wave of emotion rose up. Not just anger, but sadness. A sadness he had been outrunning for years. He whispered to himself, "I am tired of running." That sentence was not dramatic. It was honest. And honesty is the start of freedom. In that stairwell, Ethan began to see how his mind had been operating. Every day, he woke up and searched for problems. Every day, he compared. Every day, he pushed. Even when he rested with guilt. Even when he succeeded with anxiety. He was never fully in his own life. And then, a memory came to him. He was a kid, sitting at the kitchen table with a test paper in his hands. He had scored high, but not perfect. His parent looked at the paper and said, "Good. But why not full marks?" That sentence was not meant to ruin him. It was meant to motivate. But a child hears what a child hears. The child heard, "You are loved when you excel." The child heard, "You are valuable when you are better." The child heard, "You are safe when you are impressive." Ethan realized he had been trying to earn love from life itself. Not love from a person, but love from existence. He wanted the world to approve him. He wanted reality to stamp him as worthy. So, he worked, and worked, and worked. This is why people can be hardworking and unhappy. Because they are not walking toward a goal. They are working away from a fear. When you work away from fear, the finish line never arrives. Fear always finds another reason, another threat, another comparison, another possibility of failure. Fear is creative. It will always invent a new problem. So the question becomes, how do you step out of fear as your fuel, without losing your drive? How do you become content without becoming stagnant? How do you build a life with wisdom rather than restlessness? Ethan began experimenting with small practices. Not because he suddenly became spiritual, but because he was exhausted enough to be humble. Exhaustion can be a teacher. It strips away pride. It forces you to ask for a new way. The first practice was simple. Each morning, before touching his phone, he sat on the edge of his bed and took slow breaths. He placed a hand on his chest and felt the rise and fall. He did not try to become calm instantly. He simply noticed. He noticed how quickly his mind wanted to run into the day, to chase, to fix, to perform. He started saying a sentence quietly. For this moment, I have enough. For this moment, I am safe. For this moment, I can breathe. This did not solve his life overnight, but it created a gap. And that gap was precious, because in that gap, he could choose. The second practice was gratitude, but not the kind of gratitude that becomes a forced positivity. He did not list 10 things like a robot. He chose one thing and stayed with it. He would hold his coffee and notice the warmth. He would look out the window and notice the light. He would remember a friend who cared and feel that care in his body. He would not rush. He would let the appreciation soak in. This mattered because the mind can understand gratitude intellectually and still remain unsatisfied. Contentment is not an idea. It is a felt sense. It must be practiced as a feeling. The third practice was letting go of one unnecessary upgrade. Ethan realized he was constantly chasing upgrades. Better phone, better car, better apartment, better wardrobe, better experiences. He was not even enjoying them. He was using them as proof. So he made a commitment. For 1 month, no upgrades, no browsing for the next thing, no comparing, no shopping as therapy. Instead, he would use what he already had with care. At first, this felt uncomfortable. He noticed how often he reached for stimulation when he felt emptiness. When you remove the habit, the emptiness becomes visible. But instead of escaping it, he sat with it. He learned something shocking. The emptiness was not infinite. It was a sensation that rose and fell. The more he watched it, the less power it had. He realized he had been obeying discomfort like it was a command. Buy something, achieve something, prove something, distract yourself. But discomfort is not a command. It is just a feeling. This is a key point in inner cultivation. Feelings are weather. They are information. They are not orders. Ethan also began practicing generosity in a new way. Not generosity as self-sacrifice, but generosity as connection. He started helping without needing credit. He sent a message to a friend just to encourage them. He offered support to a coworker without expecting praise. He donated to a cause quietly. He noticed how generosity softened his hunger. Why does generosity help contentment? Because craving is self-centered energy. It is the mind saying, "What about me? What about my lack? What about my fear?" Generosity breaks that loop. It reminds you that life is larger than your personal scoreboard. As Ethan practiced these things, he noticed something subtle. His mind still wanted more, but it was not as loud. The urgency softened. The inner pressure eased. Then one weekend, he visited his grandmother. She lived in a small home. Nothing fancy. The furniture was old but clean. The kitchen smelled like soup. She moved slowly. She smiled easily. They sat together and talked. Ethan told her about his work. She listened, nodding. Then she said something simple. "You work so hard. Do you also know how to enjoy what you have?" Ethan felt tears rise unexpectedly. Not because she said something cruel, but because she said it with love. It was like a hand touching a bruise gently. He admitted, "I do not know how." His grandmother did not lecture him. She told him a story from her own life. She grew up with less. She had lived through loss. She had known uncertainty. But she learned to appreciate small things. Because small things were real. The taste of food, the warmth of sunlight, the presence of family, the quiet of an evening. She said, "When I was young, I thought happiness would come when everything was settled. But life is never fully settled. So I learned to drink tea while the storm is still outside." That sentence stayed with Ethan. Drink tea while the storm is still outside. It was a metaphor, but it was also instruction. Do not postpone peace until your conditions are perfect. Conditions will keep changing. If your peace depends on condition, you will always be negotiating with life. This is where the spiritual principle of impermanence becomes practical. Everything changes. Your body changes. Your relationships change. Your job changes. Your environment changes. If you attach your happiness to stable conditions, you will suffer, because conditions are not stable. But if you train your mind to find steadiness inside change, you become free. Contentment is that steadiness. It is not the denial of desire. It is the understanding that desire will never end if you let it lead. It is the ability to appreciate without clinging, to pursue without desperation, to improve without self-hatred. Over the next months, Ethan began to live differently. He still worked hard, but he stopped working with a knife at his own throat. He started taking breaks without guilt. He started leaving work at a reasonable hour when possible. He started eating meals without screens. He started going on walks, noticing the world, noticing his breath, noticing his thoughts. He also began to change how he measured success. Instead of only asking, "Did I achieve?" he began asking, "Did I live with integrity today? Did I speak with kindness? Did I keep my promises? Did I respect my body? Did I give my attention to the people I love? Did I allow myself to be present?" These questions might sound soft, but they are powerful because they shift your life from performance to practice. And practice is what creates lasting peace. One day at work, a younger colleague asked Ethan for advice. The colleague said, "I want to be successful like you, but I feel anxious all the time." Ethan paused. He remembered himself. He said, "Your anxiety is not proof you are failing. It might be proof you are measuring yourself in a way that will never let you rest. Learn to build from contentment, not from fear." The colleague looked confused. So Ethan explained in a simple way. If your inner voice says, "I am not enough," then no achievement will be enough. If your inner voice says, "I am safe only when I win," then you will never feel safe. So train the inner voice first, then work hard from that steadiness. This is the deeper wisdom. The outside world is not the only battlefield. The inner world is the true training ground. Now I want to bring this back to you, because maybe you are not Ethan, but you have Ethan energy. You have that constant pressure, that constant need to prove, that constant sense that you are behind. If so, I want you to consider that your unhappiness might not be caused by a lack of luck. It might be caused by a lack of contentment practice. Contentment is a practice, like strength training. You do not become content by hearing a quote. You become content by training attention, training gratitude, training simplicity, training presence, training compassion, training the ability to feel desire without obeying it. And yes, there is also a karmic dimension to this. When you live from craving, you create more craving. You create patterns of dissatisfaction. You create relationships where people feel like projects. You create a mind that cannot stop. That is cause and effect. When you live from contentment, you create different causes. You create patience. You create kindness. You create clarity. You create relationships that feel safer. You create a nervous system that can rest. Those causes create different effects. That is also karma. So how do you begin? In a way that fits real life. Imagine you wake up tomorrow. Before you reach for the phone, you breathe slowly. You say, "For this moment, I am here." Use it for 1 minute. 1 minute is enough to begin. Then you choose one small thing to appreciate deeply, not performatively. Deeply. The taste of water, the warmth of a blanket, the fact that you have a body that carries you, the fact that someone, somewhere, cares about you. Let it land in your chest. Then during the day, notice craving when it appears. The craving to check, the craving to compare, the craving to buy, the craving to win. Do not fight it. Just notice it. Label it gently. Wanting, wanting, wanting. And then ask yourself, what do I actually need? Often the answer is not the thing you crave. Often the answer is rest, or reassurance, or connection, or meaning, or a moment of silence. Give yourself a moment of silence. That silence is medicine. At night, reflect, not with self-punishment, with curiosity. Ask, where did I chase today? Where did I rest today? Where did I appreciate? Where did I rush? Where did I speak kindly? Where did I speak harshly? Where did I abandon myself? Where did I show myself compassion? This is cultivation. This is inner work. This is how you become wise. And if you want a single sentence to carry through your week, let it be this: I can want more and still appreciate what is here. That sentence holds the balance. Growth and contentment, ambition and peace, effort and joy. Now let me share something that often creates strong resonance. Many people believe contentment is something they will feel once they fix themselves, once they are thinner, richer, more respected, more successful. But contentment is not the reward for being perfect. Contentment is the ground that makes healthy improvement possible. When you build from self-hatred, even your wins feel bitter. When you build from contentment, your growth feels clean. Your life feels like yours. So, if you have been working hard and feeling unhappy, do not assume you are broken. Consider that you may simply be trained in the wrong direction. You may have trained your mind to scan for lack. That training can be changed. And changing it changes your destiny. Because your destiny is not just what happens to you. It is what your mind repeatedly returns to. It is what your heart repeatedly clings to. It is what your attention repeatedly feeds. Feed sufficiency, and you will feel more alive. Feed comparison, and you will feel more hungry. Feed gratitude, and you will feel more stable. Feed craving, and you will feel more restless. This is not moral. It is cause and effect. As we close, I want to offer a final image. Imagine two people walking through the same garden. One person is thinking about the next garden, the better garden, the garden they do not have. They walk past flowers without seeing them. Their mind is elsewhere. They might own 10 gardens one day and still feel empty. The other person walks through the same garden and sees the light on a leaf. They smell the air. They feel their steps. They appreciate what is present. They may still want to improve the garden, but they do not miss it while they are inside it. That second person is practicing contentment. They are living now. And living now is the doorway to real happiness. I want to hear from you. Have you ever achieved something you wanted and then felt unexpectedly empty? What do you think your mind was still chasing? Share your experience in the comments. Your story might help someone realize they are not alone. If you want more long-form teachings like this, subscribe to the channel. Like the video so it reaches the people who need it. And if you want to support this work more deeply, consider joining the membership. It helps keep these long videos coming, and it helps us build a community grounded in awakening, wisdom, compassion, inner practice, and a calmer relationship with destiny.
At the end of the day, we all need something that brings us back to ourselves. Something that reminds us to slow down, breathe, and stay centered. Simple bracelet can do exactly that. Every bead you touch brings your mind back to calm, back to clarity, back to the present moment. If one of the bracelets you just saw resonates with you, you can find the purchase link in the video description and explore more beautiful styles in our channel store. Let the one meant for you find its way to your wrist.